Should we go for mid-air collision?
Let's try it.
Okay. Okay, so we want them to meet about here.
Okay, ready?
3, 2, 1, go. Hello, I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
You're watching That Review Show. And this episode, I have Matt here with me because Thom is not feeling particularly well and he's not sure if he'll be able to really join in with the conversation. So I'm very pleased to have Matt with me. Matt, what are we discussing? No, don't say it's good to be here.
Well, it is good to be here.
No, is it though?
It is.
Is it?
It is. We just got back from seeing The Martian.
I guarantee you that at some point, everything's gonna go south on you.
Ready?
And you're gonna say, this is it. This is how I end.
Commander, Mark is dead. We have to go now.
Now you can either accept that, or you can get to work.
So yeah, Chris, what was The Martian about?
So The Martian is about a 6-man team of astronauts, or 4 men, 2 women, who are on Mars kind of collecting samples and doing research and stuff, and they get caught up in a really bad storm and they have to leave the planet. And during their escape, Matt Damon's character is killed and left behind, and then it turns out that he's still alive, and the film follows his attempts to survive while the people back home at NASA kind of try and figure out a way to bring him back.
Surprise.
What did you think of The Martian?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, basically. It was good.
Good. Yep, no, I liked it too. I thought it was very down to earth.
Yeah, for want of trying to avoid these puns.
Yeah. No, it's good. I thought it was engrossing. It was a 2-hour, 15-minute long film, and it did not feel like that at all.
No.
Which is particularly impressive because I knew going in that it was a 2-hour, 15-minute long film, and it still didn't feel like it was that long, which I think is a good sign.
Yeah, it's Ridley Scott back on track. He's had a couple of duff movies lately, but this is a good one. Because this is not like one of Ridley Scott's other films. He's done Alien, he's done Prometheus, which are very hard sci-fi. They're very big ideas, they're grand. This is more of a, to say the bloody pun again, it's down to earth. It's more of it's a relatable story.
Stripped back.
Yeah, it's easy to watch. It's easy to follow. But it's not totally dumbed down or anything. It's just
a more human story.
Yeah, it's about characters. It's about the guy surviving, and it's a simpler tale about survival. It's the guy surviving rather than any high concept sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it could almost have been the sequel to Everest, and he was trapped on a mountain or in the jungle rather than another planet.
Here's the rub. It's gonna be 4 years for another mission to reach me, and I'm gonna have designed to last 31 days. So I gotta make water and grow food on a planet where nothing grows.
So, to talk about the cast of this film, I felt Matt Damon was perfect for the role. It was a film that relied on an actor that could be charismatic when completely on their own for the whole film. And I like Matt Damon anyway, but I think, he's likeable enough that he didn't need other characters to play off of. Obviously, when he's in touch with the other people, there's a bit of that, but mostly it was just him on his own. And yeah, he was infinitely watchable, quite funny actually.
Yeah.
It was a lot more humorous than I expected. And
yeah, a lot more.
Pretty much all of that was due to his performance. It doesn't strictly speak to the audience, but he does make these little video blogs, or vlogs, I guess, and obviously then he's looking straight into the camera, so when you watch those it's like he's talking to you, and I guess that was a conscious decision because it's hard for a character to establish their character when there's no one to talk to, so the fact that he was talking directly to you, you kind of built up a relationship with him as the film went on. Talking of Matt Damon's humour, he has some really good sort of lines in this, some amusing little observations and things that he says to keep you going. There's one that you didn't like.
Yeah, I just almost groaned at it. He's a scientist, and he obviously has to figure out lots of these sciencey things. But there's something he just says this stupid thing.
Tell you what, we'll do a competition. If you can guess which line it is that annoyed Matt, pop it in the comments section, and first person to get it right, I guess, gets a That Review Show t-shirt.
Yeah, go for it.
Seems fair enough. They obviously liked Katie Mara, the producers of this film, because there were 3 of them, or Kate Mara. There was Kate Mara in space, and then there was Kate Mara who worked at NASA, and then there was the other Kate Mara who worked at NASA for the PR team.
And these are just 3 actresses that look the same. They weren't actually Kate Mara, were they?
No, but they all had exactly the same haircut. And then towards the end of the film, there's a sort of little montage sequence, and one of them had slightly choppier hair, and one of them had her hair up. And I was thinking, why don't you do this throughout the rest of the film? Because they had exactly the same hairstyle, and particularly the 2 that worked at NASA. That was very confusing for me for a while, because I was just like, what? And then they appear in the same room at the same time, and I thought, oh God, is this going like 2001? We've gone through a wormhole now, and we're seeing alternate futures or something. And Jeff Daniels and Sean Bean were really good.
Yeah, they played off each other quite nicely.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice to leave Sean Bean as a northerner. I wonder if Game of Thrones has now allowed him to just do his own accent in American productions. Before they were like, Sean, you need to do an American accent, and he's not very good at that.
He is literally just Sean Bean, who happens to work at NASA.
Yeah, which was fine, because, obviously NASA attracts the brightest and best from around the world, so I was fine with that. I liked their relationship. I liked that Jeff Daniels was a pragmatist rather than a villain, because he was the one sort of throwing the most spanners in the works, but it wasn't for some like nefarious backdoor deal that he had with the Chinese or anything like that. It was just that he was like, look, we've got other astronauts in space who we need to bring back. We can't risk them for one guy, that sort of thing.
He was thinking practically, and although obviously you care about Matt Damon, and he has to weigh up whether it's worth just, potentially sacrificing 5 other guys in order to bring back one guy. And it's, like you say, he's not a villain, but he's the one who has to he has to make the hard decision.
I'm not risking their lives. It's bigger than one person. No, it's not.
I liked how kind of resigned he was. There was a particular press conference where just every question was, we're working on it. We'll get round to that. Mm-hmm. Nope. I liked that kind of world weary. Oh, is that another pun?
Oh, God.
He's world weary, so he works at NASA. Yeah, all the supporting cast really good. I can't pronounce half the names though, which I feel really bad about. So.
No, especially the guy that was in 12 Years a Slave. I can't say his name.
Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Possibly.
I don't know. That's really
brilliant.
bad.
I love that guy. He's a really good actor.
You wanted to talk about the moments of tension throughout the film.
It was tense, but I liked the way the film dropped these moments on you. Like, obviously, there's moments in the film that are not scary. It's not a scary film, but it ramps up the tension very quickly and suddenly, which I think works. It works when you're watching it. It feels satisfying because quite a lot of the film is very, I wouldn't say mellow, but there's not a great deal of threat. I know you maybe not quite agree with this here, but the threat, because of the humour, which I did find very surprising, there was a lot more humour in it than I expected. It was almost goofy at times. It was like really wacky and silly almost. It's like some of the dialogue and things like that just didn't quite fit with what I was expecting a film called The Martian to be. But when it does ramp up the tension, it does it really well, and it really hits home. And it was effective to see devastating things happen to this character who is stranded on Mars. He's alone. He's got no one around. God, what more can you throw at this guy? And it was powerful,
Yeah, I think what I liked about this film as opposed to something like Gravity was the moments of tension in this weren't all moments of peril. It wasn't like every 10 minutes, like, oh my God, he's going to die. Is he going to die? That kind of ran through the whole way. So although the rest of it, like you say, was kind of mellow, I was always asking myself, is Matt Damon going to die? And these moments weren't like, oh my God, he's definitely dead, he's definitely dead. It was just, oh no, this terrible thing's happened. That's a real shame.
Yeah.
Now he's going to have to figure out how to get out of this situation.
And it's gut-wrenching because, like I said, he's on his own, he's stuck here, and there was a scene where he's simply trying to grow his own food, which is, a major issue. Something obviously happened, it's not too spoilery, but obviously he struggles with it and something happens to set him back a bit. And it's heart-wrenching to see it happen, it's devastating.
Yeah, but it wasn't eye-rolling Hollywood,
No.
like, the bus on the edge of the cliff kind of moments of tension, or another storm comes in moments of tension. It was all fairly, again, down to earth.
It was realistic and it was...
Yeah, believable.
Yeah, believable.
A few things not so believable.
Just a few, a couple of little things.
But we're going to go into spoiler territory now. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you need to skip to this time code, just here. You have been warned. So one of the things that annoyed you was the character who figured out how to get Mark back.
He's this teenage kid. He's a bit of a sort of like a eccentric, smart, geeky, I don't know, whatever, but he's working at NASA somehow, which for starters doesn't look right anyway. He doesn't look like he belongs there. He's in his bedroom, which looks like a geek den full of like bits all over the floor, and he's drinking coffee and he's all hyper and stuff.
But his bedroom is in NASA.
It's in NASA. and he's the one who comes up with a potentially good idea to get back and save Matt Damon's character. The concept that they use is the whole slingshotting around Earth, which... This is NASA. The scientists who work there would have thought of that immediately. They wouldn't need some weirdo kid to tell them that. It's like, that just wound me up a bit.
The thing that annoyed me about that particular bit was the fact that when he thinks of the idea, he doesn't immediately say, I've just had this idea, here it is. He's like, I need coffee, and runs off to get coffee, and then he sits down and starts typing on the thing, and his boss is just like, okay, and leaves him to it. And you'd be like, well, what's your idea? Tell me. That was a little bit filmy for me. It didn't really make a lot of sense. The one that annoyed me.
I know there was a big one that you didn't like.
This film, I was comparing it sort of to Gravity the whole way through, and thinking it was much better. But there's a scene at the end that they stole from Gravity essentially, which is where. Okay, so the way they get Matt Damon back is. The ship that was leaving with his friends on it slingshots around Earth and comes back to Mars. He gets to another pod that's been placed on Mars already for the next mission so that they've got supplies there already, sort of thing. So he has to get across Mars, which takes him days and days, or weeks and months and whatever to get there. And then he's going to fire that rocket up, send himself into space. As the spaceship comes past, and they're going to intercept just above Mars's atmosphere and pull him in.
It's a grand idea.
It's a grand idea, and that would have been enough tension and enough excitement and complexity for me. But what then happens is their ship's not slowing down enough, so they have to blow open the front airlock to create a vacuum that slows the ship down.
Which I kind of like that bit.
I didn't mind that bit so much, but then what Matt Damon says is, oh no, wait, I'll come to you. I know what I'll do. I'll cut a hole in my spacesuit and then I'll just project myself there like Iron Man, which is what Sandra Bullock does with the bloody fire extinguisher in Gravity. And I know with films set on Mars you have to suspend your disbelief, but I was doing really well with that, and the film was sort of treating me quite nicely up until that point. Just like, we're going to throw some science stuff at you, but this is all right, isn't it? And
for the most part, it's a pretty believable.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's light, it's sci-fi, but it feels believable. It feels like it's feasible.
But then you've got him flying through space by opening and closing his hand to shut off the.
With air flying out of the hand.
And it was just instantly. I'm like, well, he's dead. He's flown off.
He would go all over the place, as we kind of demonstrated.
Yeah, and I just wanted him to take off, and they're a bit of a, oh no, we're not going to make, oh no, and then we got him, and then that would have been fine. So Matt, there's a bit in this film where they have to type to communicate with each other, and everything the character types, they read out loud at the same time, whether they're on their own or in a room full of people. And it was just such a bad way, I felt, of dealing with that. Like, there was one scene where it made sense, where the guys who had left him there had just found out he was still alive, and they're having their first communication with him. And so one guy's typing, and everyone else is in the room. So he's sort of reading out what he's typing so that they can hear the messages that are going back and forth. That was fine. But when you've got Matt Damon sat on his own on Mars, and he's like, "Hey, NASA, are you gonna get me back anytime soon?" And then you've got the guy at NASA who's got his friend sat next to him, both looking at the monitor, and he's going, "Hey, Mark, we are working on it right now." And it was just...
Yeah, it was a bit overdone.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want to just have the text on the screen. That's fine.
Which they did as well. It wasn't just typing and something. We could read it as well if we wanted. So it was like all three things at once. It is a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, like, voiceovers are tricky to do without them seeming really cheesy and stupid, but I do feel like
I mean, it could have worked.
Some kind of voiceover would have been better. Yeah. Or even Matt Damon reading out loud the messages to him and the others reading out loud the messages from him. Yeah. So, like...
There seemed to be a better way of doing it. It was a bit clumsy the way they handled some of that.
Yeah.
And it looks silly, as Chris just demonstrated.
I mean, you could have had NASA, the NASA guy saying, well, what's going on? He says that his oxygen's getting low, rather than him going, "My oxygen is getting low." It's one of those things where, like, okay, it's a sci-fi film and all this stuff is happening, but no human being ever would do that. No one would ever sit there and speak out loud as they type. Nah. Killed it. Ruined the film for me.
But in all seriousness, apart from those little nitpicks, because to be honest, I know we've been talking about it for about 10 minutes, but generally there were small nitpicks, weren't they? I'd say.
Oh yeah, no, I really like this film, and let's end on a positive, because I know that you want to talk about the visuals.
Yeah, well, I think it was a beautiful film. In particular, I thought the scenes set on Mars were particularly a highlight, which you'd kind of, you'd hope for in a film called The Martian, but they did it really well. I'm assuming it was all filmed, a lot of it in some kind of desert, but they applied, all the effects and films to make it look reddish, and it really did look like Mars. I mean, I've never been, but I assume it looked a bit like that, and it was just really well put together, everything.
It looked as though it was shot on set or on location, and how much of it was CG, I don't know, but there was, and this is going to sound like a diss, but there was no point during this film where I thought about the visuals. It wasn't until afterwards when you said the visuals were really good that I went, oh, actually, yeah, the visuals were stunning. And a bit of a backhanded compliment, but the fact that, because I hate CG, and I pick holes in, like, that's my favourite thing to get really annoyed about in films.
That is the reason when CG doesn't work, you only notice bad CGI. Good CGI, generally, you don't notice it because it's seamless and they've managed to make it work with the film. Yeah. This is one of those examples. I think they did it really well. And
well, this is a film where I don't even know if they did really good CGI or if they filmed it, if it was all sets and locations, because whatever they did was so good that at no point did it pull me out of the film. I was completely immersed the whole way through.
And even the props and things like that, like the rover thing that he drives around, and the HAV, is it called a HAV?
Mav.
Or Mav, I can't remember what it's called, but this station that he lives in, it was a good set, and everything about it just looks and feels authentic, and it's just it's what you'd expect from a big budget film, it looks good, and just, it's part, any film like this, you need that to work, and this one did,
So I guess final thing to say, final question to ask is, Matt, is The Martian worth the ticket price?
Definitely. I mean, my personal reasons for going to the cinema is generally to see. I like visuals. I do like visually appealing things, and if it has big surround sound and good action and stuff. Admittedly, this isn't an action film, but is enough grand things to look at, and it's a visually appealing treat, and it's definitely one to see on a big screen.
Mm. I would agree that it's worth the ticket price, but I would go more for the good story, well written, apart from a couple of lines and a couple of set pieces that were a little bit questionable. And on the whole, 2 hours and 50 minutes whizzed by. I enjoyed myself. Enjoyed the film. Enjoyed the performances. Yeah, definitely worth seeing. Go see it in the cinema. Like Matt says, it's worth seeing on a big screen. And yeah, Ridley Scott back on form.
I think so.
Yeah.